Hi, Gerald. How are you?
Hi,
Nice to see
I'm
you.
well. Good to see you.
Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, as we were talking about just before we got on here, you got a really cool background. I think you're going to get the prize for the coolest background of a guest we've had on so far.
Thank my publisher. He's the one that did the cover for the book. So,
Oh, well, that's great.
yeah.
Um, so you've got a book. How many books have you written total now?
Uh, 12 or 13. Yeah, I wrote about five or six or seven children's books. They didn't all make it into print, but five of them are in print, and then four novels and a couple of short story collections. So,
Okay. So is this what you do for, I mean, for your living and everything, or is this just a
uh,
side venture or what?
I have not succeeded in making much money off of it, no. But it's something I can't seem to stop doing. Uh, I've been writing for about 35 years now, and every time I finish one and don't have a lot of success making a lot of money out of it, I think, well, maybe I'll do something else. But I always end up going back to the writing, and it's something that I enjoy, and I feel very connected uh, to my spirit when I'm writing in a way that I don't when I'm doing anything else, you know. So I keep doing it.
Well, I think that's what drives a lot of artists and
Yeah,
writers,
it's
you
hard to
know.
make money off of art of any sort form.
Oh, well, definitely. I had a guest on a while ago who was a musician, and I kind of lump everybody in the same group. Anybody who's an artist of some form or another, we all kind of share the same battles of trying to make a living doing this. And he says it's amazing how successful one can be as a musician and make no money.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that was a good quote, you know. And I've seen that with filmmakers, with authors.
Yeah,
I've seen people, screenplay writers, who had a whole room full of screenplays that they've
yeah.
written over the last 20 years, and it hadn't made a nickel. But
It's
you,
really tough.
yeah, but you look at their library, and it's like, wow, you know, how long did it take you to do all that?
Yeah.
One thing I saw in your bio that I wanted to ask you about, visionary fiction.
Well,
Is that a
visionary.
new genre or what?
It's fairly new. It's been included in the catalogs for only about 20 years or 25 years. And when I first wrote my first book, I had trouble selling it anywhere because it didn't fit any of the other genres, and visionary fiction wasn't an option. I hadn't heard of it, and I later realized that that's what I was writing. The definition that they give is where expansion of consciousness drives the plot. I like to think that or say that I don't claim to be a visionary. That's not why I call it visionary fiction. But my characters, through their visions, their visions are critical to the plot, and that's why it's visionary fiction to me.
Okay, let's break that down a little because I think that could have gone over a lot of people's heads real fast. When we're talking about visionary, we're talking about what? Like the Maharishi, somebody
No,
in the spiritual realm?
well, the spiritual realm to me. I mean, to me, a vision. It's not just a dream. It's not just a plan for the future or something that you see might be happening. It's not even being clairvoyant and being able to see things that aren't there or spirits or whatever. To me, you've had a vision at that moment when you realize it's been given to you by some other consciousness, and that's what really tips you off that hey, this isn't coming out of my own ego. It's not coming even out of my own subconscious. Someone gave this to me, or some being, or some group of beings, or some other form of consciousness greater than my own. It gives me this vision, and it's not just something you have. Like it's not like daydreaming. It's definitely more powerful, and you feel that connection. And when you have that kind of connection with something you experience, it affects you very deeply, and you can't just ignore it. And so my characters are driven by these visions they have, and they have to follow through on whatever they think has to happen from there on out, and sends them on some sort of quest, or typical plot lines. Got to save the world. That's what we're all trying to do right now.
Okay, so a vision, that can be interpreted many different ways, depending on one's religious beliefs, depending on what sort of chemical enhancement somebody might have taken. There's a lot of different ways to go with vision. The first thing that came to my mind was the Native Americans, who practiced that with peyote and sweating and all sorts of different ways that they would induce what they would call a vision.
I think that they were aware at the time. I mean, I believe it's it's part of their culture. They realize the vision is coming to them from the Great Spirit,
Right.
from their ancestors. It's coming from somewhere else. So someone's trying to help you and gives you this vision. Maybe they take some drugs in order to try to facilitate it, because it's not easy to allow yourself to go to that place. But that's part of what I try to say in my writing, is that there are consciousnesses that are trying to assist us all the time, and we just need to open up and listen to it.
So you have to take the character and create the vision that character is seeing, and then you write your story accordingly?
Yes, I mean, characters will sort of show up. A lot of writers say this: once you start writing a character, they're there, and they tell you what their vision is, and you didn't really ever think of it before, or you have no idea. And, it just sort of unfolds, and then you have to try to make it work with the plot that you want to lay out. So, I mean, everything doesn't just come pre-made, but you get a lot of inspiration from the characters themselves, who take on a life of their own.
Oh, I've heard that from other authors. In fact, I had Sandra Brown on my podcast this week, and she said that most of her characters wait till she goes to sleep, and then they start working all night long, doing whatever they're going to do.
It's true. If you're stuck with something, you wake up in the morning and you have an idea. Somebody's working on it while you're asleep, and you can say it's just part of your unconscious or your super conscious. You can term it however you like, but I think when someone has a vision, they kind of realize that it's definitely an exterior sort of consciousness that's reaching out.
Okay, how do you differentiate between a vision and imagination?
Well, what I just said, I think the real tip-off is you have a sensation that, this didn't come from my imagination. Because we all daydream, we all we all think of things, we all plan and try to figure out what's coming next and how to handle this or that. But once in a while, something just really comes out of the blue, and if you're in the right state of mind, whether you're meditating or whether, it's like it can come to you in a dream, but even then you would wake up from the dream and go, wow, that is the most profound dream I've ever had. That definitely came from somewhere else other than my normal unconscious day-to-day junk that I'm dreaming about all the time. So I think that's really where I make a distinction. I don't know that other people make that distinction, but to me, I've found that that's really the key difference, is that you realize it's not coming from your own mechanism.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've had some pretty wild dreams. I mean, just some crazy, crazy stuff that defies the law of gravity, defies the laws of physics. And, but I guess I never consciously decided that it came from somewhere else other than my own head.
Well, maybe you will. Maybe tonight you'll have a dream like that. Because I never, I've had a few things like that. I don't have a lot of visions, but I guess I've had a few experiences where it's just really, really obvious as someone was trying to connect to me. And when it happens, you know it. And I can't really say anything more than that, because if it hasn't happened to you, it probably will eventually. And you have to be open to it. It helps to meditate a little now and then, or if you prefer to go the psychedelic route, I'm sure that can assist. But
Well, yeah, I don't know if peyote or LSD or something like that. I mean, is that legitimate or is that cheating?
I have never tried it, so well, I don't think it's cheating. I mean, it's some people are drawn to do that. I imagine they're drawn to do that for a reason, and it might help them to open. It's very difficult to realize the illusion around us and to let go of what your senses are telling you, because the physicists will tell you that this is all just energy moving around. The patterns of energy, the whole world is just patterns of energy. It's not really as solid as our senses tell us it is. And so if we try to let go of that illusion that our senses are giving us, it's not easy to do. So if someone's drawn to taking psychedelics, and that gives them some sort of a breakthrough where they can realize, yeah, those physicists are right, it's all just energy. Well, then I'm not going to judge them on it, but I haven't tried it. So,
well, I guess the one thing that the chemical enhancement would do is disrupt the brain energy sensors, right? It would sort of scramble them up. So when you see things, because I know back in my high school days, I did dabble with LSD and mushrooms and things like that. And the one thing that I noticed was color. That was the only thing that really got disrupted in my brain, was color. And so if I was looking at a wall and the wall in reality was blue, on the substances, the wall would be many different colors, which I found very interesting and actually quite enjoyable.
yeah.
And, you would swear, but if somebody were to take a photograph of it, the wall would still be blue at that moment. But to my eyes, it was not blue. It was anything but blue.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
very interesting,
It is. I mean, I've always been drawn to the mystical side of things, and I mean, it's always fascinated me that the mystics see this other world than the rest of us see, and how do you get there? And I remember in high school, being in a science class, the teacher handed out a worksheet that said, these are the questions that science can't answer. Is there a God? What are dreams? Where do dreams come from? And I had a whole list of these fascinating questions. He said, well, these are questions science can't answer. And I said, well, I guess I'm not going to study science then, because those are the only questions that were interesting to me. And that's what I've, tried to explore in my writing. It's like, what happens when you do have these visions? Where do they come from? Where do they take you? And that's what I fill my books with.
Once you know 1 + 1 = 2, there's not a lot of debate to have after that. But with this topic, you could go on indefinitely. And you can rest assured that nobody has an answer better than yours. Really?
Well, I'm sure some people do have a better answer than mine, but I don't claim to have a lot of answers. It's fiction for a reason. I'm not trying to write nonfiction about what happens after we die, but
well, maybe not a better answer, but at least your answer is as acceptable as theirs, because nobody really has the answer. We are going way over the time, which is great because this is a cool conversation. But you are here to promote a book. So tell us quickly about, is it Rosa Mundy?
yes.
Okay, tell us quickly about the book, and then we're going to have to wrap it.
I wanted to start a book with, the typical book follows the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell laid out and everyone else. But you get to the end of the book and the hero has a transformation. It's what Mike was saying, some maybe he has a vision or something, or he has a transformation. He realizes that the world isn't quite what he thought it was, whatever the subject of the book. And I wanted to start a book at that point. What if my character has already had a transformation? They realize they've already, become awake, as people say, and what happens after that? And so the main character is a hospice worker who's had a near-death experience, and she feels like there's nothing to fear in death, and she's there to help people through the last moments. And she ends up being assigned to a self-help guru, and she becomes much more sensitive and becomes clairvoyant, and all of these things begin to happen to her, and her quest starts from there. But she's already had an experience that woke her up to the fact that things are not as they seem, and the general fighting and them versus us and that sort of thing doesn't work for her at the very start of the book. So yeah, that's what I wanted to explore. Where do we go next?
Thank you so much for coming on. This was a very enlightening conversation.
Well, thanks for having me.
Best of luck with the book. Website? Do you have a website you want to give out real quick?
Sure, GeraldRStanek.com is the website. You can purchase my books there or on Amazon.
Okay, super. Well, thank you, Gerald, for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.